Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode here at WILDMAN Lifts. I'm your host, WILDMAN. So on this episode today, I'm going to be doing back squat with chains, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be squatting down to a med ball to make sure that I'm reaching below parallel on my back squats. So this will require less weight on the bar. So I'm using the chains so that when I get down to the very bottom of that depth, it's a lot easier for me to maintain that load. And then as I stand up, it'll progressively get heavier to my desired weight. Let's get to it. So we're doing back squats today, and the whole purpose of that med ball right there is to make sure that I achieve appropriate depth. Sometimes when I'm doing back squats, my hips are really tight, and I'll think that I'm close to hitting parallel, and then when I review the video, I'm not even close. So today's giant set format, I add the chains on there, which are about 45 pounds of chains, but those chains there that are holding those drop chains actually don't touch the ground. So it's technically 140 on the bar plus 40 is 180 pounds. And I'm going to be doing tire flips, tire flips, in between. Now this is just, again, a warm-up to make sure that my body is getting warm as I go up in the weight. And this tire isn't very hard to flip. It was just mainly for conditioning. And I'm also doing Sledgehammer Strikes. This works your obliques and your shoulders like crazy. And this is why I throw these in here. Now, typically when you're doing any kind of compound movement, there's something called a sticking point. And the sticking point is generally in the middle of the movement. That's where the lift becomes extra heavy because your body is transitioning different muscles as the weight is going up. So typically, when you get past the middle of the movement, the lift should get easier because you fully transition to other muscles that are going to help you out. With the chains, the lift is easier at the bottom of the movement, and the middle portion should be at least easy or manageable to fight through. But remember, you're adding more and more weight until you get to the top. So even though it's getting easier, it's also getting harder at the same time, which makes this a great training tool when you're trying to build any kind of compound movement, including back squats. Now, this was supposed to be my top set, but when you purchase, chains from Home Depot, things don't always go your way. So as you can see, once I descend down to the bottom and come up, the left side, those chains popped off the hook. And fortunately, I was able to get it back onto the rack without an injury or something catastrophic happening. And this was an easy fix. You just take some duct tape and you just wrap it around the hooks so that it doesn't come off again. Duct tape fixes everything. This is evidence. Now that I made the implement a lot safer, I decided to try this weight one more time. And the goal was to hit 3 reps with 410 pounds total. Now you're going to see what I'm talking about right here. Since I'm going a lot lower than I normally do, I'm actually feeling pretty good at this point. But what you'll see that when I do my 3rd repetition, it's a little bit more of a fight and moves a lot slower. And that was good enough for me. So I decided to put that back and call it a day. And I finished my giant set format, which again, I've been doing these the entire time. Every single time you saw me going up in weight, I was doing this in between my back squats, which was 7 rounds total. And the plan was to be able to do this and my variation giant set and build up my work capacity. Whew. I actually went up a lot higher than what I was anticipating today. And that's just the lifter in me. I like to lift heavy. I like to feel that weight on my shoulders get harder and harder, and I like a challenge. I was supposed to do way less weight than that for more reps, but it felt so good that I decided to go up. Just to show you what I'm working with here. So this is a 45-pound bar, and these are 45-pound plates, and that's a 25-pound plate. So the total on this bar is 365 pounds. This chain right here and this chain over here weighs 2.5 pounds, so 5 pounds total. And these chains never go down in weight. And what I mean by that is they're always going to be on the bar. It's never going to lose its weight by hitting the ground, unlike these drop chains. So really what we have down here on the bottom is 40 pounds of drop chains, and this will always remain on the bar. So that is actually included with the top weight. So we had 370 pounds total on the top. and 40 pounds on the bottom. So that's 410 pounds for 3 repetitions. And again, that was a lot higher than what I was anticipating to do. Now, there's two kinds of training when it comes to the gym. You have recreational training and you have competition training. So if you're training for a powerlifting meet or a strongman meet or an Olympic weightlifting meet or a CrossFit event, then you're going to have to follow some kind of strength program and you're going to have to live by it. And sometimes in the beginning of that strength training program, it's really, really easy and light. And other times, as you get to the end, it's going to be a lot harder. When you're recreational training, you don't have to follow that rigid of a guide. Currently, I have some deadlifting goals that I want to accomplish by the end of the year. And back squats and deadlift often compete on my central nervous system of which one is going to win. I've hit my back squat goals last year, and so this year I'm focusing more on my deadlift goals. And your central nervous system can only take so much heavy weight. So I get to kind of play around with the squat a little bit. The deadlift, I'm doing a very strict program and I'm following that to the T. I just kind of throw on weight, do 3 repetitions until I can't do 3 repetitions anymore, or I just feel like that 3 repetitions was tough enough to end the session. With going to below parallel with the med ball, I feel like that was a good starting point for me. So I'm going to cut it short there, and I'm going to move over to the strongman portion and do some stone lifting. The variation giant set, I did 3 rounds of my favorite movement by far. If you had to ask me, what is my favorite movement ever that I had to do for the rest of my life and kick everything out of my training, it would be stone to shoulder. And this is a natural stone, so it's a lot harder to get to that shoulder position because of its awkward shape. But there is nothing better than lifting a stone. It feels so good every single time I pick up a really heavy stone. And I continued to do my 3 burpee tire flips and my sledgehammer strikes. And I did that again for 3 rounds, for 10 rounds total. So I would accumulate a lot of volume doing this work and building my work capacity at the same time as I'm building my strength up. Now with the strength giant sets and the variation giant sets, I've done a total of 30 burpee tire flips and 200 sledgehammer strikes, all within 10 rounds. That's quite a lot of work in a little amount of time. Now for the assistant giant set, I was doing 3 rounds of farmer walking lunges. Now this is an added element to walking lunges. It's heavier, obviously, and you're putting more strain onto your quads. It's also good for your shoulders and your back because of the weighted carry element. And I was also doing some ab mat sit-ups and the famous bike erg to build my inner knee strength. And then for my accessory giant sets, I was doing 3 rounds of supination curls. And I do this almost every leg day to really add another element to my biceps. And hitchhikers, as I call them, and flutter kicks to target the lower abs after a heavy lifting session. Woo, session done. Got a lot done in a minimal amount of time. Really appreciate you following along, subscribing to the channel, and viewing my videos daily. Until next time, thank you.